Trends may come and go, but natural, well, it never goes out of style. Hi, I'm Alan Smith and welcome to the show. Today, we're exploring ways to reconnect to nature, going back to what's native, if you will. What do I mean by that? Well, let me show you. We're going to look at incorporating native plants into your garden as well as your dinner. We'll visit a local folk center dedicated to preserving regional heritage. And we'll learn about one organization's effort to empower urban locals with farming education and self-sufficiency. So are you ready to get native? Well, I am. But before we go there, I just want to point out one thing. You know, there's some plants and foods that have been with us so long in America, they go so far back that we think they're native. Like some of our favorite flowers. Daffodils, for instance, came from Europe. Queen Anne's lace came from Europe. You like honey? Honeybees came from Europe. And take, for instance, the beautiful flowers on these collard greens, brought over here by European settlers, but they're so much a part of our culture today, we just think they're native. Now let's get on to really going native.
We're a 66-acre botanical garden open to the public. We host an enormous amount of private events that help support us. We are known for our color and our color displays. We have over 184 beds.
A lot of our beds will have 3 to 4 changes a year as we go through the different parts of the season here in Dallas. We have trees, a lot of them, beautiful, but we're much more than just an arboretum. We're also a full botanic garden with the displays that we have in place and all the rich programming that we have for guests when they come here.
There's an amazing amount of things to highlight. I love Johnson Color Garden. That's where we're at now, just because you can look out to the vista and see a ton of color. The trial gardens are of much significance, and don't forget a tasteful place that's opening up.
The Tasteful Place is indeed, it's a 2-acre garden with a 3,600 square foot pavilion, which the pavilion, of course, serves our notion of garden to table dinners, how to cook, how to prepare, how to harvest, how to present.
And this is going to be an educational tool to help guests and citizens of Dallas and supporting areas know how and when and why, and those questions, and to have confidence behind what you're producing at home and knowing how to do it.
Trial garden that we have here is real important. It's one of the top in the country. We really are looking for different things throughout the year, but especially in the summer for heat tolerance in plant varieties. It's real important to us to see new plants come on the marketplace. Our seed companies are releasing new varieties of flowering plants. We're also looking at vegetables now as well.
Trialing's a fun thing. It's a fun process. The nice thing about it is there's really no challenges. It works or it doesn't work. So I'm just here to record that data and to see if it works or it does not work.
You know, we're known for our display, and we're all in with all the big color beds throughout the gardens, and it's a series of garden rooms that connect seamlessly throughout as we've developed the different spaces here. So that's what people really, I think, like most, is come out and see seasonally what's growing, what's blooming in these large beds.
I come with my daughter, and she loves the flowers, and just to come here and spend some time and enjoy this beautiful place, it's amazing, you know, to have here around in Dallas.
I've been here before. This year I've been here 3 times. I come here as often as I can. So I usually come out here and enjoy the peace, the quiet, looking at the flowers, looking at the different events you guys have going on. Love the sculptures you have. They're beautiful. So that's why I come out here.
That contact with Mother Nature, I think, is imperative, and the more that we have that contact, the better we're going to be.
We're just really a beautiful destination for folks that want to see flowers and all the ornamental plants that do well here in the North Texas climate.
Now, since we're on this native kick, I'd be remiss if I didn't point out two of my favorite natives that are edibles in this garden. One is the blackberry, so good, and then over here, the blueberry, both North American natives that you can grow in your own backyard. Heifer International is best known for the work they do to help end hunger and poverty around the world. One of their new projects focuses on developing sustainable food production in urban areas.
We wanted to create basically a heifer urban farm, something that we could have in the city, something we can actually show some practices that we're doing in Arkansas and things that we're going to be doing with our Heifer USA program. We wanted to actually be able to produce stuff to giving back to the community, and we wanted to help out some of the hunger relief programs in Arkansas.
I think there's a great synergy in what's going on with urban farming or local food movements that we're seeing all over the United States. And I think there is a great way for that dovetails into the work that we do, because our work all over the world, it is local farming at its core.
This is some sweet potatoes our gardeners and farmers picked today. We're looking at about 80 to 100 pounds that we'll actually pick today.
I believe that our nation has suffered from something called an artisan gap, which basically means that our society has not doing something that it learned how to do long ago. So we have forgotten how to grow food for ourselves. We no longer grow food at our homes. We go to the grocery store and buy things, and that's not sustainable.
It's a food sustaining activity or a project that everybody can easily do, and then that can help actually end hunger and poverty, which is our main mission at Heifer.
This is part of the urban farm setting that we put in place. We actually added some goats and a couple pigs. We have some sheep coming next week and some alpacas. I believe it's important to have this in this urban environment so that we can actually show what you can grow in your own backyard, what you can grow in an urban setting, be able to see the animals and kind of get a feel for what we use those for in the field. Really trying to help educate people on gardening and what you can do on your own to become self-sustaining. I think the missing connection we have right now is today's youth and getting used to understanding where the produce comes from and where the animals are grown and what they produce from that, where our nuggets come from or where our fresh produce is, and to understand that that stuff can be grown in your own backyard, and these are things that you can do and learn the nutritional level of those and the benefits of having those vegetables and produce available to you.
The Root Cafe knows the importance of supporting our local farmers. In fact, if you look at their menu, you can see where all their food sourcing comes from, which makes it really interesting to sit down and have a meal. Jack and Corey have done an outstanding job of creating a community based on farmers connecting with consumers and consumers connecting with farmers, all over a delicious meal.
We both came to this project from different backgrounds, but the original idea, we started with the mission, which is building community through local food. And once we set that as an agenda, we spent about 3 years in a startup phase. And so we did this just in the community to build a network of local farmers that we'd be able to purchase from once we got the cafe open.
I think that a lot of people in the food industry really want to showcase good food, and we want to showcase good food, and we want to showcase local foods, and local sourcing is really important to us. And
it's really easy to generate interest and, pretty passionate interest around local foods.
We do have a menu that is constant throughout the year. We have burgers all year long. We have chicken salad all year long. There are these things that we can source locally all year long. We have seasonal specials, like the soup always features what's in season. There are lunch specials and breakfast specials that feature something special that's in season.
For us, we looked first at what was available in central Arkansas from local farms, and we built a menu based on that. And that way we can maximize the amount of local food that we use on our permanent menu. Local food is more delicious. If you look at the variety of vegetables that you can get at a farmer's market when things are in season, it's so much greater, so much fresher than what you'll find at the grocery store. So local food is more nutritious in general because it's consumed closer to the time that it's harvested, so it keeps more of its vitamin and mineral content. Local food is better for the environment, it's better for the local economy, and then the last is that it's more transparent. So local food is a great starting point to do something good.
Are you a fan of the butternut squash? Well, I certainly am. I love them cooked in so many ways, but I want to give you an idea of making a pie with one. I know it's a little out there, but if you love pumpkin pie and you love sweet potato pie, this is a great sort of in-between. To get started, what you want is just an average size butternut squash. You're going to prick it with a knife about every 2 or 3 inches around it, and then you're going to just place it in an oven at 350 degrees for about an hour until the squash is soft all the way through. Bring it out of the oven and let it cool. All right, so it's nice and cool. Well, it's a little warmish, but that's all right. We're going to go ahead and jump into this. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the squash and I'm going to open it up. Look at that, isn't that beautiful? Why don't we just go ahead and just take it off of the aluminum foil here. And the next thing I want to do is just take a spoon and I'm going to scoop out the seeds like this. And then I'm going to do the same on this side. There we go. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to peel off the skin. You may want to just take your knife, cut it off like this, because what you really need is 2 cups of the flesh. So I'm going to take a cup here, and it's going to be mashed squash. So roughly what we're looking for is those two full cups. So there's 1 packed cup. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this into the food processor, cup 1, and then we'll do the same. So you can see that this squash, medium-sized squash, will produce about 2 cups of flesh. And there's the 2nd cup going into the food processor. And that's just a matter of adding the other ingredients in the food processor. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take 12 ounces of evaporated milk, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, half a teaspoon of apple pie spice, half a teaspoon of nutmeg, and just a little over a teaspoon of cinnamon. Okay, so there we go with that. Next, we're going to add a couple of eggs. Two medium-sized eggs, and then 3/4 cup of granulated white sugar. Now it's just a matter of mixing all of this together. So you want to blend all this together until it's a nice consistency, about 45 seconds to a minute. It's looking pretty good in there, don't you think? And then it's just a matter of lifting this off. And then you've got, well, liquid pie. We're going to add it into the pie shell. Now it's just a matter of popping it into the oven for about 45 minutes to an hour. Just check on it from time to time. You can stick a toothpick in the center. You'll make sure it comes out clean, or a fork or a knife. And you're going to bake it at 350 degrees, and it is so delicious. If you grew some butternut squash yourself, you get extra points. But the next time you go through the produce department, don't just walk by those butternut squash. Pick up a few and try this recipe. It's a great fall dessert and perfect for Thanksgiving. Really good. If you know me, you know it's no secret that some of my favorite native plants come from the hills and highlands of the Ozark National Forest. Now, you don't have to take a hike to see some of these. There's no better place to view these native beauties firsthand than the botanical gardens of the Ozarks.
We sit on a total of 44 acres here in the northeast corner of Fayetteville, right on the Springdale line. And the original garden is about 6.5 acres of cultivated gardens. They're set up like backyard gardens that a person could do in their own backyard. We have other features as well as our butterfly house and things that are really a wonderfully attraction to all of our guests. When we first started, we didn't have any gardens, and so they created this necklace where our gardens are placed around. Right now we have 12 distinctive gardens that are around this circle. Everything from a Japanese garden to a sensory garden to a vegetable garden to a children's garden. So we have a little bit of everything that somebody can find here. And then we have other features behind the circle that we have a butterfly house and other things like that.
We are in the Ozark Natives Garden and the Botanical Garden of the Ozarks. This is one of my favorite gardens. This garden in particular is representative of a small backyard garden. Every plant in this garden is an Ozark native plant. So we hope to educate the public on what they can be using in their yards. Most of us live in manicured landscapes, and I think the interest is in trying to figure out how to make a balance between the native plants and the beautiful imported plants that we all love. But we do need to create a balance even in our own backyards.
The fact that we have so many different features, somebody can find something here. Even if you're not into gardening, you'll love our art and our whimsy. It's definitely a place that people love to come to. We're a small garden, we're not a huge garden, and we're not an old garden.
I would just encourage homeowners to educate themselves as much as they can about native plants. There are some beautiful choices out there. More and more garden centers are carrying native plants. If a yard has no native plants in it, as far as the pollinators are concerned, it's an ecological desert. So if you want to have more than a desert in your yard, front or back, you need to have a better balance of native plants and imported plants.
You love chocolate? I do. I have a little place I keep it. It's so good. You know, it comes from the cacao tree, and a lot of people don't really know how it's made. It comes from Mesoamerica, and it's been used for a variety of reasons for thousands of years. The process of making chocolate is fascinating. So why don't we go to my friends at Kyya Chocolate and let them show you how it's made.
About 4.5 years ago, we were working at an orphanage in Uganda, Central Africa. We have 4 adopted daughters, so orphan care and anything with orphans is important to us. And so we were working in one of the slums, and I just broke down one day, and I decided that we needed to do something. So this is a cacao pod. This is where the beans grow in. They grow in a tree. It takes about 4 to 5 months from a flower bud to a finished pod. And in this particular pod, there's about 20 beans. Once these are ready, they'll crack these open with a machete. And what they're looking for is these. These are cacao beans. Each bean weighs, like I said, about 1 gram, and so it takes about 450 to create a pound of chocolate. We take a portion of our profits and we pour it back into the places that we source chocolate from around the world. At this point, we've sourced chocolate from about 12 countries. That direct sourcing, so relationships and trips, we've done 4 of those, and the goal is to do a couple per year. It takes a lot of energy, a lot of time out of the shop to go and build relationships with cacao farmers. And so we try to get 3 of those a year. So we're gonna sort through here, make sure we don't have anything that could hurt our machines. There's a piece of plastic in there that needs to come out. So we're kind of doing a manual inspection. This is from northern Uganda. We'll weigh out a 20-pound batch, and then this is gonna, once we've weighed it, we'll move over and we'll start to roast. Roasting, again, is what helps us bring out the flavors. It kind of, if you think about it, kind of elevates all the flavors so we get the best flavor we can possibly get from the bean. There is a ton of diversity in chocolate. So chocolate grows from 3 different plants. Each one has a little unique flavor depending on where its origin's from. And you can pick up 85 distinct flavors in cacao depending on where you're sourcing chocolate from. This tub is actually made of a granite base about 4 inches thick. The 2 granite rollers basically grind and shear the cocoa nib, and that turns into chocolate. We do that for about 24 hours to get it really refined where your tongue can't detect that there's any solids left, and then we'll add our sugars and our other ingredients to make the finished chocolate. On an average batch of chocolate, these wheels travel 84 miles. So this is a pretty long, slow process, but it's one of the reasons why chocolate tastes really good. We've got a mission that's very different than most people. So kind of back to the beginning of the story, we were working in an orphanage in the middle of Central Africa. It's near and dear to my heart. And so, we don't want to just make money. We want to make a difference with what we do. And so while the chocolate's important, it's even more important for us to give back and to pay it forward.
Well, that's all the time we have for today's show. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have. It's always fun for me to learn new things about the plants that are around us and how we can incorporate them into our lives, particularly when they're natives. Until next time, I'm Alan Smith.